Hello everybody, Thy Lord Root here, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program Career Mode. So, as you may recall from the last episode, we spent a lot of our time preparing for a Duna mission. And I thought I would continue that a little bit today. We in fact have a couple of launch windows coming up. I thought I'd also like to talk about the future of this series in the sense that we do have a game-changing update coming out with point 24. Exactly how game-changing that update will be, I don't know. It does add in, from what I understand, money, but that could that could definitely be something that could make or break this particular thing. So the first thing we're going to do is transfer some crew over from the Münar Station. And the reason for this is actually quite simple. It's because of the fact that we're abandoning this station. You might ask, why, after all of the hard work that we put into getting this station in. Whoa, I need to pay attention to what I'm doing. Oh, but, you might ask why, after all of that, would we even think of abandoning the space station? And the deal is that it's actually quite a little bit too wobbly for my liking. And that, of course, means that we need to rescue the crew and make sure that we're able to get these guys back to Kerbin, because as it turns out, they've actually been in orbit for about half a year. Now, that's a long time. That means that they might have lost some bone density along the way. But with that being the case, let's just see if we can get Bill Kerman out real quick. With that being the case, we're actually going to keep Jebediah around a little bit longer. For maybe, I don't know, the Duna mission at least. Somebody like Jeb needs to be the first person to go to the Duna, to be part of the Duna landing site. I believe that makes everybody. I'm not entirely sure about that, but I think that would be everybody we're interested in. So let's get this guy out of the way. And let's get Sigfin docked to our thingamajiggy, our spacecraft. Because we got this problem, we've got 4 people on the space station, and it's about to be a derelict. And that, of course, means that, we have to think a lot about, what we're going to do here. Now, to be absolutely fair, we are more or less in this situation to where it otherwise wouldn't be safe to transport all of the crew back, but because we're because we're transferring crew to the Duna Dragon, then that'll be okay, I think. And you'll have to forgive me if my I suppose. Let me just switch back to this guy here. We need to get this guy out of the way. In fact, we could probably. We have the ability right now to crash this dude into the, into the surface of the moon. I'm not sure if I want to do that yet. I think it would be safe for us to do so. But yeah, anyway, I guess what I was going to say about my game being off is, of course, I'm not much of a sports fan by any means, but I have been watching the Olympics, and there's been hockey on today, and I suppose to uh, basically bring up, you know, how cool hockey is. I sat at a restaurant for maybe an hour and a half and sat there drinking, watching the game. Two games, in fact. The first one was Slovenia. They lost 0-5, presumably because Slovenia is slow. And then the Russians played as well, and that was a deadlocked game for at least as far as I was able to tell. I haven't really checked back up on that, but the Russians do appear, or the United States too. They do appear to be in quite an interesting situation in terms of hockey. However, instead of hockey, we're going to do a Kerbal Space Program instead. Nobody really likes, to come to a KSP game and to hear about hockey, I suppose. We are just. Whoa. Maybe I should reorient myself. This could be quite an issue for me. But we are, in fact, going to dock with this thing. I'm just going to increase the speed to 29, even though we're not exactly lined up, because, these docking ports are actually rather forgiving. We're not exactly aligned, but, once you have a tool like this, it's okay. And one thing we want to do too is we want to disable these engines. These engines are going to thrust against us, and we do not want that. So the plan is we're going to meet up with the Dragon. And you know what, we might as well, how much fuel do we need? I think we can fit about 2 fuel tanks in there. Then again, maybe not. Maybe this thing will be off balance just a little bit. But that's okay. I probably should have quick saved beforehand, but we're already committed. You know what? I think we're actually at a good position right now to make our return. Now, we don't want to go too deep into the atmosphere when we do our aerobraking maneuver, because that could be rather bad for us. What we want to do instead is we want to, we want to basically get this down to about 43k. And we're already having slight balance issues because we're slightly off center. Now it's probably going to be the case that, see where are we at right now? We're going to want to be really careful here. We could very easily overdo this. And in fact, I'm going to take the remainder of this fuel here. And I'm going to transfer it in. That way we're at least a little bit more balanced. But we want to get this down at the proper height. That'll, that will be good for air braking. Eventually what we're going to do is we're going to dock with the Dragon. And we do need to be careful here. Okay. I think if we go much slower than 43, we're going to be in trouble. And we may even find that is too low. I mean, hopefully not. I don't want that to be too low, but we do have enough fuel in reserve in order for us to get back down to the planet. Now, today I'll be launching a few interplanetary vehicles. I don't know if the Dragon's going to be able to shove off at this point. Whoa, yeah, that was dangerous what I just did. Whoa, yeah, that's, not quite what I had in mind. Let's see, how do we rectify this situation? I think we need to rotate out. I think, that will, get us more or less to where we want to be. I mean, at any rate, we will find ourselves re-entering. And you know what, maybe I should close these solar panels. I mean, they don't matter too much, but we don't want these guys to be left alone here. We'll just retract these panels. I think otherwise we're good. We should lose a fair amount of delta V from this, I'm thinking. Although, maybe I should lower my periaps just a little bit. Not too much, because I do want to be about 43 or so. And while this is less efficient than, otherwise, there we go. Let's bring that down a little bit more. This is not the most efficient way of of doing an axis change, but it'll work just fine because this guy is going to re-enter the atmosphere. Now need to we may need to burn a little bit. We're coming in rather fast. And so I'm going to help this a little bit. Because we are still in quite a bit of drag. In fact, I think I must have underestimated this. So I'm going to use the Oberth effects. The trouble with aerobraking is that it's really quite fantastically difficult to get the sort of braking you want. You know what, I think while we're here, let's take a crew report. And we're already leaving the atmosphere. So why don't we just use that remaining fuel to circularize? Maybe at 250, 300 or so. That seems to be a good deal for me. But yeah, we will be hopefully reaching Apsis pretty soon. And our periaps is lowering just a little bit, which is to be expected with the drag. I mean, at this point, we have to be really careful because if we get too far into the atmosphere, then we run into issues. With those issues including, I'm just going to cut it off around 250, but our inability to get back out of the atmosphere. That is not terribly good. So we're at about 250. Most of our fuel at this point is spent. We could take this chance to refuel otherwise, but in fact, why don't we just shift some of this fuel and we're almost out. Because we do have a little bit of extra fuel here if we can properly select this. I mean, the main thing we're going to do here is we're going to rendezvous with the Duna Dragon, and we are going to do a crew transfer. So let's see, we're at 249. We're still quite a bit into the atmosphere. But we didn't have any flames, which I think is good. When we get out of the atmosphere, we're just going to make that initial course correction. Set the sky as a target. We might want to, I think we want to do an inclination correction as well. So we're at what, 249 something? That will be good enough for us. But let's do something. Let's see, that's the ascending node. We need to bring the sky down just a little bit. Use what little amount of fuel we still have to bring the sky in pretty close. And I think I overshot it just a little bit. 0.1, 0.8, 0.8. So, where are we at now? 254. Let's pull back on our apsis a bit. It doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be, fairly circular. Can we do? You know what? That's fine. There's no need to fine-tune this. Incidentally, you might notice I have a new tool here. I have something called Precise Node that will basically get us set up in terms of, we can make minute changes with Precise Node. That will be very important to us because we are about to do interplanetary launches, and very slight deviations have very large effects. So we want to be aware of that for sure. Where are we now? 250 versus... Oh, wow, that's rather nice. I think I'll take that. Now, let's get our... let's get our inclination sorted out. And in fact, let's see what would happen if we try to make an encounter here. 2.5, 5.1. Two point 0.04. That's going to be a fairly good deal here. Let me just get in position. We need to we of course need to make ourselves a I guess this correction barn, wherever the node is. There it is. And we will, we'll get ready to make this correction pretty soon. Okay, we overshot that by quite a bit. I mean, it'll be okay. We can make precise adjustments, I think. And we do have RCS for that. Let's just get this guy down as close as we can. And yes, we are in a bit of a pickle because the way we've done this means that we are going to have to change our speed a little bit. But let's give ourselves, I don't know, about a minute. And why don't we, fairly soon we should begin pushing our nodes in. Although we have quite a bit to burn, it seems. Let's just get that taken care of real quick. Because this is going in absolutely too fast. Even, if we are fairly close, um, we don't want to be going 500 meters per second past the space, or past the Duna Dragon. Ideally, we want to get this back, I don't know, to maybe 200 or so kilometers. We're already drifting a little bit, as you can see, but we don't want this to be too much of an issue here. Let's see. Let's see what happens when, well, we no longer have our intercept for some strange reason. It's probably because we're going a little bit too fast. Let's see how we're doing on fuel. We are not doing well on fuel. This could be a little bit tricky. Fortunately, we have RCS at our disposal. Let's see. Do we have an intercept now? We got 0.6 units. Well, really, we're out of fuel, it appears. Now, why that intercept is not showing up is beyond me. It says our closest approach is going to be, um, it says it's going to be, in 3 minutes. Let's just get as close as we can there. And let's see if we can get as much as we can out of this. My guess is I probably slowed down just a little bit too much. You know what, let's even make sure that this monopropellant is getting drained. This could be a little bit bad. Because we are very slowly moving away from the space station. And I'm not sure that I like that too much. I mean, we had a fairly good intercept at first, and then I botched it up because well, we were going way too fast for one. And unfortunately, there's not much that I can really do about this. I guess aside from maybe some very tricky maneuvering. If we can't get Jeb in, then I think the obvious solution is going to be that we're going to have to deorbit, and if we do get to that point, then I will simply do that. Although we do have another option at our disposal here that I'm not really giving much in the way of thought. That would be to take the opposite approach, which would be to dock or to move the Dragon. Now, I don't really care to move the Dragon, but I think we're in that position right now to where it makes sense if we do. At least, well, at least from the perspective that I can, this is turning out to be a bit more difficult than I'd initially imagined. I mean, we are eventually going to want to do this. What is our time? Let's just... Oh, well that's a bit of a pain. I forgot we had this thing going on here. So we are now in a rather precarious situation where getting these two guys to dock is not working out, and I can't shut off these engines as I ought to. Just shut down engine. With the trouble being that if we don't shut off these engines, then we are in a little bit of trouble. Although I think at this point, we're just going to have to, we're just going to have to deorbit. Unfortunately, this situation never arose in practice. And because of that, this thing is very unwieldy. We can send up another vessel, maybe give, the star of the show, so to speak, time to recuperate from his 150-something day time in orbit around the moon. But we can't really, we can't really do that because, we have an interesting problem. And that problem is, problem is more or less that we need to get at least one of these crew members out here. Now, we could take, we could take one of these, craft out here. But I prefer, I prefer to, we've already done that. Let's switch to this guy. I prefer to not have to worry about that, but there's really nothing that we can do at this point. The only thing we really can do is, try our luck, which means somebody is going to die. Not very good news to have, of course. I mean, we can bring Jeb up on another craft, that's not the issue. But, we will need to, do something about this other craft here. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to leave this guy up in orbit. And, we'll detach. because at this point I don't really see any way we're going to handle this otherwise. I mean, we've already got limited resources as it is. So, sorry, other dude, you get to stay up in orbit for a little while. At least until we can devise a safe way for you to get back down. And this is taking a little bit longer than I like, so I'm gonna do physical time warp. Whoa. So that mission has failed. And that's unfortunate. That does set me back just a little bit because I did want to, I did want to at least get Duna out today. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. It's okay, we have time for Jeb to recuperate. Because you spent, like I said, about 150 days in space, and that's really not good for anybody. That's that's going to be the sad reality of everything here. That we're going to have to send up another launch. I guess I'll at least send up the refueling vehicle at this point. Because as you'll notice, we do have a orange fuel tank that would be very good for something like this. Let's just... There's really no need for us to continue living this lie that we can keep this stage, so we might as well, after we burn off some of this fuel, we might as well leverage that in our favor by jettisoning this little pod here. That way our mass will lower significantly. Now, I don't know if we'll get science back from this or not. My guess is no. The reason I say that is because of the fact that we've already been to the moon too much. It's not really going to help us at all. We might get a new thing over it, or we might land over KSC. I mean, I guess the important thing for me to do would be to get this thing, lined up with the atmosphere. And we are in fact going to land in the ocean, it looks like. So no new science for us. What happened here? Why do we... Oh no! That is not good. It's not good at all. You know what? We have a quick save. And we're still in orbit around the moon. Why don't we just lower that periapse just a little bit? I'm not exactly sure why Jebediah decided to commit suicide like that, but for whatever reason, we're now having to contend with it. I'm going to bring this down to a solid 40. And let's close up these solar panels. Now I wonder, is there a way that... No, there's no ladder for the other dude to grab onto. That's going to not work. So let's just retract these panels. Let's see if this does for us what I'm thinking it'll do. Our apps is dropping just a little bit, which means this is what I was afraid of. I was afraid that we would be in a situation where we wouldn't be able to recover. Okay, well, that is obviously not working out for us. Let's at least see if we can land. Bill can, Bill can try. Oh, we got landing legs too. So I think the thing here then is that we're going to want to we do have more or less full fuel here. Let's at least try to make this landing as graceful as possible. Because we will be in the atmosphere a little bit, we're going to want to brake. This is turning out to be quite a tricky mission for us. mean, perhaps it could be said I was tempting fate by trying this. It worked out pretty well when I tried it in the simulation. I guess it's, maybe I expected a little bit too much. Let's hope. Yeah, the fuel cross feed at least has been disabled here. And so this, fortunately our window isn't affected by this. Okay. Let's just ditch that tank. And let's orient ourselves correctly. This is, this is almost like the, one of the, like maybe Apollo 13, they used the lunar module as, a lifeboat of sorts. Now, of course, the lunar module wasn't sufficiently equipped to deal with this sort of thing. However, we're just having to make do with what we have at the moment. And to think after all this work I spent into, trying to get. Oh! Okay, well, that dude is most likely going to die. Oh! No, he's dead. Well, that is a shame. I probably should have seen that coming. It's not very, it's not very nice, is it? Let's see if we at least got new science here. That may make it a little bit better. Assuming these guys can cope with the gravity. I mean, there's fortunately not, as far as I know, ill effects of staying in orbit for too long. We'll have Bob assess the damage here. And he'll do that by taking an EVA report. And you're right about that, Bob. It is rather precarious, isn't it? Let's think if we get down low enough, we can take a surface sample without leaving the vessel. And we'll recover this craft. Well, that was not good. That was That didn't go quite as I planned it. There was other science on that vessel that I probably should have taken off, but you know what's done is done. We'll just recover what we can from that wreck. Let's see, what do we have here? That debris would probably be this here. We'll just recover all of this. I guess with the realization that the show must go on. Because we do have, we do have a launch window to hit. Unfortunately, that guy, I think he's gone forever. I don't think there's any way that we can, um, really get to him. That's a shame. Oh, we got something. We got 80 science, so we did manage to recover some parts at least. This dude's sacrifice was not in vain. And what has happened here? It looks like it's decided to bring up the game again, or to bring up the part. We'll just recover that. I think we got everything at least. The next thing I think I want to do is I'm going to try and get this dude into orbit. Jump back into orbit because he should be reanimated by now. And really all we have to do is we don't even really need a parachute on this. I mean, we could have one, but that's not strictly necessary. All we really need is a docking port, and we don't even need a docking port, come to think of it. We just need a we'll put a parachute for good measure, and we will crew this with Jebediah Kerman. Let's see. We'll wait, of course. We'll want this module down here so that we can deorbit this this contraption. And we will want we'll want something else as well. We're going to well, first of all, we're going to I'll do this. I'll move the probe to the top. We'll mount some things to this probe as well. I mean, it would be useful if we could recover this. I don't have a whole bunch of hope for that, but that could be useful for us. And we will, if all goes according to plan, then we will, deorbit this entire thing. And once we get done, so let's see. We'll just make a standard injection stage here. And let's turn on the center of mass. And let's not do 8 times symmetry. Let's let's see, we've got this engine here. I mean, these will have to come down just a little bit. And we've also got a decoupler we're gonna put down. And my hope is that this will have more than enough to get out of the atmosphere. So let's put on another fuel tank. We have the gimbaling engine we're going to put on. And then we'll do, you know, just a regular, fuel cross-feed design here. And what do we have here? We have this engine that'll be useful to us. And we have, you know, we might as well put on the flight control thing. Kerbal engineering does save a little bit of time. In addition, we'll do the fuel feed. We'll move this guy down here. And why don't we see atmospheric stats. So we can get out of the atmosphere pretty easily. But I think we're going to have enough fuel for this to last. So yeah, let's do that. And yes, I did forget to strut this thing up, but I'm not gonna say it's an emergency, it's not. I think nonetheless, we will need to target this guy, and we'll bring it in. We'll bring the Duna Dragon in closely. And we'll just see what we can do to catch up to this thing. Because we do want Jeb to go on the mission, even if his bones are practically jelly by now. Which I'm sure they will be. So, let this be a lesson to you. Don't do aero braking when you've been drinking. It can go disastrously wrong. I mean, in general, like, I almost think aero braking was a bad idea to begin with. just because we're, coming from the moon and aerobraking may bleed off a little bit too much in the way of velocity. That would, be problematic for us. Unfortunately, there's really not much we can do to avoid it at this point. I don't think we had enough Delta V to rendezvous with the ship. And, that could be an issue. It's just all on its own. Just shed some of this weight real quick. And how close are we to reaching orbit? I'm sure we're a little bit further away than we need to be. I mean, that RCS probably does not help the the efficiency of this rocket, but we will get Jeb up there one way or another. We just got to be patient. And we probably should not dip below the atmosphere. That would not bode well for us. So let's see how we're doing on our I guess on our burn. I mean, I think we're doing pretty okay actually. Enough to where I feel confident shutting this upper stage. Let's see. How close are we? We're separated by 16 kilometers. Let's at least, let's get this guy up as much as we can. I don't know why I'm having trouble with doing rendezvous today. It's not exactly the hardest thing in the world to do. I mean, sure, it can be tricky. And it certainly has been for me. I mean, the main question is, can we get Jeb on board? And we've got game lag, it would seem. While we're at it, let's bring up our velocity just a little bit. And we'll make our approach. go. So we're about to get Jeb out of here, I think. And we'll fly this guy on home. We just need to be facing the right way. And hopefully we're on the side that the capsule is, will let us in on. And it looks like we are, fortunately for us. Okay, well at least Jeb is, you know, at least Jeb is here. And we now have one more flight to do that I will approach in a very similar manner. Because it turns out to be a little bit quicker. I mean, it's, you know, we want to definitely be able to refuel our ship. At least whenever possible. We'll launch this guy. It's, we've more or less got the right thing going on here, I think. But that will of course lead us to, you know, launching as close as we can. And I think that'll be our window right there. And hopefully this won't take too terribly long. The main thing we'll want to do, of course, is we'll want to make sure its stage lock is on whenever we, I guess whenever we get this thing docked in. We won't want this guy to otherwise be, be more or less as fueled up as possible. But that'll be something that shouldn't take too terribly long to do, I'm hoping. I guess I just gotta pay attention to my statistics here. And I guess the one other thing we'll want to do when we board the spacecraft is see what our orbit is, because, well, come to think of it, we didn't really change it, did we? So we should be in the same orbit that we were in previously. And we may actually get ourselves a pretty good um, intercept. It's looking that way anyhow. Let's see, what is that at now? It's at 10 kilometers. It's not bad. So we have one or so minutes there. We'll start flattening out that orbit of ours. And how far away are we? We're, of course, loading that model now. And, of course, I overshot it because I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. Which is rather important. You do want to make sure when you're, carrying a huge tank of fuel that you actually are paying attention to your course. We'll set this guy as our target, maybe. And let's go ahead and get docking taken care of. I mean, if nothing else, at least we have this part taken care of. Okay, what just happened? Well, I'm not entirely sure, but we do want to be facing towards that. So, yeah, docking is more or less underway at this point. And, that will be our biggest concern, is whether or not we're able to successfully dock. Now, I personally think that we'll dock just fine, but things seem to have been going quite wrong today. And that includes my piloting skill, apparently. Because I am not piloting too terribly well at the moment. However, I do think we'll be just fine here. I mean, it's, the worst that could happen, to my way of thinking, is that, I could do something stupid like crash the refueler into the spaceship. Which admittedly would be very stupid for me to do. So I'm going to do my best not to do it. Because well, we do have lifeboats, at least, that we could use. That, you know, lander is at least equipped with parachutes. Let's see what we got here. I think this guy, yeah, that guy, he needs fuel for sure. And not that way, the other way. Which means that the refueling process is going to be a little bit slower. I don't really think that the Dragon core needs fuel as such, because it's using, you know, those nuclear engines. But on the other hand, that central stage, which it turns out will be necessary for us to, if we want to carry that fuel with us, at least. You know, it will be necessary to keep around. That stage is going to need fuel of its own. And the ship is not really going to. Or maybe it will fill the entire thing up for us. Let's see how much more in the way of fuel we can spare. Let's just get this entire thing fueled up because it's worth having as much fuel as possible. And before we leave, monopropellant could use a little bit of it can use a little bit of filling up as well, because we used a lot of monopropellant on the space on the lander thingy, on the space lander, even though I suppose it's really not accurate to say that it had landed in space. Well, whatever the case may be, we do want to fill it up. I'm not worried about the center of mass issues that might normally pop up here. And the reason for that is because, in reality, they're not that big of a deal. We're just going to undock this thing however it is that we choose to do it. And it's going back into the atmosphere. And I'm going to continue fueling that monopropellant, unlike I, just failed to do. And, yeah, let's transfer this back in. We're more or less fully fueled now. Once we take care of this propellant, anyway. And I think now would be a good time for us to undock. We'll quick save first. But, we'll undock. We'll bring this thing back into the atmosphere. And we'll kill its velocity. And as soon as we get this, in fact, I think we have just a small amount of fuel we can use for helping us down. That would be us right there. So, this has been Dialord Roots, and I suppose we'll do the real work sooner or later. So y'all have a good one.